Change is inevitable, even when you're set in your ways. And that's because life is always happening around us. And that means life is full of change. But are you ready to adapt, grow, and thrive in the midst of change? Today, we're talking about how you and I can adapt to life's changes. Wish you could thrive in the midst of change? I'm Didan, the Transition Titan, and I specialize in guiding individuals and organizations through life's most challenging transitions. Whether you're starting fresh in a new country, managing a family crisis, or launching bold entrepreneurial dreams, I'm here to help you build resilience, embrace reinvention, and achieve global success. Join me on this journey as we explore practical tools, expert strategies, and inspiring stories that empower you to adapt, grow, and thrive in our dynamic world. Happy New Year! It's January 1st, 2025. The calendar year has changed. And maybe you have changed too. Maybe you've decided on new projects you're going to work on, or you have finally set the New Year's resolutions that you won't break by next week. Some changes in life come to surprise us. They're not like the resolutions or the projects that we start out the year thinking about and committing to. Some of these changes could be things like if you get a new neighbor or a new work colleague. You never know if they're going to be the good kind or the not so good kind. Some changes that we experience include death of a loved one, death of someone we were dreaming of meeting one day and now we no longer have the chance. But sometimes change could look like conflict, having a fight with a best friend, or no longer being in touch with a relative. Change is usually an external event. Change happens to be the things that are happening to us and affect us. On the other hand, transition is the internal process that we go through to adapt to these changes. So, to clarify, change is an external event while transition is an internal process. Now, we face all sorts of changes. It could be aging. Sometimes the bones don't snap back as quickly as they used to. You feel aches and pains. You probably don't have as much endurance or energy as you used to. It could be illness, uh, uh, whether it is a terminal illness that comes into your life or the life of someone you care about. It could be a condition that a child experiences that you now have to modify your life to accommodate them. It could be a change at work. Maybe you lose your job or you get a fabulous job. Changes can be both positive and negative. For some people, change happens when their financial status is different, whether they incur a lot of debt or they get a salary increase or inherit a lofty amount. Whether the change is good or bad, it affects you. Changes happen in relationships. Sometimes new amazing relationships start, sometimes relationships get strained, and sometimes relationships end. Changes can happen in our responsibilities. For example, when you become a parent, now you have to think about the going and coming, the waking and sleeping, the eating and the grooming of another human being. Changes can happen in the area of academic or professional development. Sometimes you realize that you need a new credential, a new qualification, a new skill to advance towards your goals. Or maybe you realize that you need to upgrade your skills in the profession that you are working hard at upgrading yourself, at getting promotions, at establishing yourself as an expert in. Changes are all around us. But the question is, are you ready for the change? Now, because change is inevitable, you need to be ready for the roller coaster ride. It's going to happen, whether you plan for it, like a new project or a New Year's resolution, or it just shows up on your doorstep. And in order to be ready for this roller coaster ride, transition readiness means you need to build your resilience. There's an African proverb that says, the tree that bends does not break. And that's how we have to show up in life and all its topsy-turviness. We need to be able to build up that inner strength, that bounce back ability, that adaptability that prevents us from breaking when the stresses and storms of life come. We also need to embrace reinvention. Reinvention is basically a new identity. Now, you may say, but why do I need to change? Why do I need to become someone different? I'm perfectly fine the way I am. But reinvention doesn't mean destroying who you are or putting on a mask. Reinvention is simply the way you respond to the changes that you experience. So, for example, if your salary doesn't increase to match the hike in prices that show up in the supermarket, then the new identity you may adopt is being a budgeter, someone who decides to calculate how they're going to spend before that money leaves their bank account. That's a new identity. Maybe before you were a spendthrift, but now you're being more intentional about spending. A new identity and reinventing can look like realizing that as you age, your metabolism slows down. And so instead of being someone who enjoys greasy, sugary foods all the time, you're now a Weight Watcher or maybe a salad muncher. You are changing the way you treat food, changing the way you treat your body. It could be that you decide you're going to become a gym rat just to maintain the image that makes you feel most comfortable. That is what reinvention looks like. That is what becomes a new identity. So at your very core, your character doesn't change, but you have evolved to adapt to the changes that you're experiencing. Now, how does this whole thing of building resilience and embracing reinvention start? Well, it starts with a vision. What kind of vision? Well, change comes into our lives, and the way our life looks before the change and the way it looks after the change will be determined by how you decide to respond to the change. So basically, it means that you need to, at some point, sit down and visualize what you want your life to look like after the change. So, for example, if we go back to the person who might be struggling with weight fluctuations, weight gain, weight loss, even, one person may just have a vision. Well, this is who I am. My family members are all of this same size or weight by the time they hit this age. So this is just the look. And so they resign themselves to having this kind of weight gain or this particular shape or size or fitness because they assume that this is the way it's supposed to be. Another person who is in the very same situation, having the same challenges, may have a vision for themselves that says, no, actually, I want to be able to fit in the clothes I have now. I don't want to go shopping for new clothes. I want to be able to have the energy and the drive to do all the things that are important to me. And so I need to maintain a weight that makes me feel good, that makes me feel confident. And so they will envision a different life. Once you have come up with the vision of how you want life to look after this change, then you have to start by committing to win no matter what. A resilient person is convinced that winning is a possibility. And that's why they bounce back. That's why they adapt. That's why they grow despite whatever changes they face. So start with a vision and then commit to winning. Once you have committed to winning, no matter what, then the intentional design of your life is the next step. How do you intentional design your life? Does it mean you start watching HGTV? No. Does it mean that you go and have someone else tell you how to live your life? No. It starts with selecting the habits, because habits become routines and routines create a lifestyle. So to intentional design your life, you will need to start selecting the habits that you need to either cope with the change or grow because of the change. So for example, someone who has change in their financial status, prices of essential items have gone up and they are now trying to budget, then something they may do to cope is cooking more meals at home. Something they may do to grow might be to start learning a new skill so they can earn extra income. So you will have to choose, what habits am I going to do? Am I going to start braiding people's hair on the weekend so that I can generate an extra income, and that's a new habit that's going to be a part of my identity and my lifestyle? Or am I going to buy recipe books or follow YouTube videos to get new recipes so I can cook more meals at home? That's how you are going to build your resilience and embrace reinvention. Now, you might be wondering, how do I apply this to my life, Didan? Well, what I'm going to challenge you to do is to start by identifying a change that's making your life difficult right now. Today, yes, it's New Year's Day. You celebrated and you said, new year, new me. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to continue going in this direction because things are working. Whatever you said, there are changes that you are facing. You might not even consider them changes. You might consider them challenges. But there are challenges or changes that you are facing that makes living difficult right now. Identify that challenge, identify that change, and take back your power by deciding that you are ready to adapt to this change. Whether it means that you're going to learn the lesson, you're going to try a new approach, you're going to quit struggling, or you're just going to let it go because sometimes you're holding on to the old way of being when it no longer serves you. So that's my challenge to you. Identify a change that's making your life difficult and decide that you will adapt. And let me know how it is that things change for you. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Didan Ashanta Podcast. Remember, every life transition is an opportunity to grow, build resilience, and embrace reinvention. If today's conversation resonated with you, please share it with someone you know could benefit. I'd love to hear from you. Send your thoughts or questions to podcast@didanashanta.com. Until next time, stay resilient, embrace change, and keep building the life you've always dreamed of.